And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday said that he would discuss with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu measures that Israel still needs to take to increase the flow of aid into Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel on Tuesday with plans to discuss the increased flow of aid into Gaza. Blinken is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. Blinken told reporters earlier in the day that he intended to discuss aid that is still needed in Gaza during his meeting.
That people get the assistance that they need. And we're doing that in parallel with seeking to secure a ceasefire and the release of hostages. That's also the best way to create an environment in which we can maximize assistance getting in, ease the suffering of people, and also create the conditions for an enduring, lasting peace.
Well, Netanyahu has vowed again on Tuesday to go ahead with the long-promised offensive against Hamas in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Netanyahu said that with or without a deal, Israel intended to pursue the operation to destroy the remaining Hamas combatant formations in Rafah. Israeli officials have said the operation could be deferred if Hamas accepts the deal on offer, which includes no definitive ceasefire but the return of 33 vulnerable hostages, women, children and those in frail health, in exchange for a much larger number of Palestinian prisoners and a limited pause in the fighting. The Israeli military said 2 divisions which left Gaza last week were refitting and repairing equipment and holding training and operational assessment exercises in preparation for continued operations in Gaza. And the U.S. State Department said the U.S. has not seen a credible Israeli plan for a military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah that would address its concerns. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden has long said that it will not support an offensive on Rafah without a credible plan to protect civilians there.
Continues to be the case that we have not seen a credible plan that would address the varying areas of concerns that you've heard me talk about a number of times from up here and others, primarily the ability to address the serious humanitarian concerns surrounding, again, Rafah is a region with more than 1 million people seeking refuge. It's an area that continues to be an important conduit for humanitarian aid as well as a safe departure for foreign nationals. And so any kind of operation that does not address some of these key concerns would certainly be opposed by us.
In United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Tuesday called on Israel to follow through on its promise to open 2 crossings into northern Gaza so aid can be delivered directly from Israel's Ashdod port and Jordan, and to allow safe, rapid and unimpeded aid access throughout Gaza.
Nearly 7 months after 7 October, the situation for people in Gaza is worsening by the day. I've called consistently for a humanitarian ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and a massive surge in humanitarian aid. Unfortunately, that has not happened yet. But negotiations are once again underway. For the sake of the people of Gaza, for the sake of the hostages and their families in Israel, and for the sake of the region and the wider world, I strongly encourage the government of Israel and the Hamas leadership to reach now an agreement.
Well, the United Nations on Tuesday warned that an Israeli assault on Rafah in Gaza was on the immediate horizon. The UN aid chief Martin Griffiths in a statement said that the world has been appealing to the Israeli authorities for weeks to spare Rafah, but a ground operation there is on the immediate horizon. He added the simplest truth is that a ground operation in Rafah will be nothing short of a tragedy beyond words. And the World Central Kitchen said it has resumed operations in Gaza on Monday, a month after 7 workers of the US-based charity were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Prior to halting operations, WCK had distributed more than 43 million meals in Gaza since October, representing by its own account 62% of all international NGO aid. The charity said it had 276 trucks with the equivalent of almost 8 million meals ready to enter through to Rafah crossing, and will also send trucks into Gaza from Jordan. And the US military is building a large floating pier off Gaza's coast to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid. A floating dock is being assembled offshore of Gaza, and along with the floating pier will be part of the joint logistics over-the-shore system that will help deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. Ships will deliver aid from Cyprus to the pier, where it will be loaded onto trucks to transfer across Gaza. Announced in March, the pier will be operational by early May. Once operational, up to 150 trucks of aid could be delivered a day, with 2 million meals, enough to feed almost all of the territory's 2.3 million population.